Back for another deep dive. Today we're shrinking down, way down to the microscopic level. We're going to explore the world of Prochlorococcus.
Oh, yeah, Prochlorococcus.
You know, that tiny bacteria that's punching way above its weight when it comes to oxygen production.
It's pretty amazing, right? I mean, Prochlorococcus is probably the most abundant photosynthetic organism we have on planet Earth.
Really?
Yeah. And, just to picture it, if you lined up 1,000 of these little guys, it'd only be about as wide as your thumbnail.
Wow. That is tiny. It's incredible that something so small could be producing a significant portion of the oxygen that we breathe. And for a long time, we just thought these little oxygen factories were out there just floating around solo.
Right. Just isolated single cells doing their thing.
Yeah.
But research is revealing a whole different picture now. It seems Prochlorococcus and its close relative, Synechococcus, they're actually forming these complex networks.
Networks?
Yeah, networks. Using these structures called bacterial nanotubes.
So wait, they're actually connected, like physically connected to each other.
Yeah, they are.
Tell me about these nanotubes. What are they and how do they work?
Imagine tiny tubes made of cell membrane.
Okay.
And they actually link the interiors of these bacteria.
Wow.
Creating these channels where they can directly exchange materials.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, and it's a pretty remarkable discovery, really changing how we understand bacteria, as solitary organisms.
That's a total game changer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how we missed this for so long.
Well, it's relatively recent. The first time bacterial nanotubes were observed was back in 2011.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was in Bacillus subtilis. And that discovery, surprised a lot of scientists because it really kind of went against, the view that we had about bacteria.
Right.
And then researchers in Spain, they observed these nanotubes in Prochlorococcus and Synechococcus.
So in the ocean?
Yeah, in the ocean. But even they were skeptical at first. They thought, maybe this is just some kind of artifact of the way we're imaging these things.
Yeah.
So they had to be really sure.
How'd they confirm it?
Well, they used 4 different types of imaging.
Wow.
Looking at both living and dead cells.
Okay.
And they even, looked at samples that were taken directly from the ocean.
Oh, wow.
And all the results pointed to the same thing, that these bacterial nanotubes were really there.
That's thorough. So what is the purpose of these nanotubes in Prochlorococcus and Synechococcus? I mean, are they just kind of hanging out or, is there more to it?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We
Right.
don't have all the answers yet.
Sure.
But there are some exciting possibilities.
Okay.
One theory is that Prochlorococcus, which, and this is interesting, has a really remarkably small genome, might actually be using these nanotubes to trade with other bacteria to get essential nutrients
Oh, interesting.
that it can't produce on its own.
So it's like they're compensating, for their limited genetic toolbox.
Yeah.
By forming these intricate networks and then bartering for what they need. That is a fascinating strategy. Do we know, what kind of nutrients they're sharing?
Well, researchers are focusing on nitrogen and phosphorus,
Okay.
trying to trace the flow of these nutrients through the nanotube networks, because both of those elements are really crucial for, these bacteria to grow and function.
So they're essentially trying to map out, the trade routes in this microscopic world.
Exactly.
That is incredible. So if these tiny bacteria are constantly swapping resources on a massive scale, I mean, could that have a ripple effect, on the whole ocean?
That's a great question.
I mean, these are organisms that play a significant role in global oxygen production, right?
Yeah, you're hitting on a really crucial point. Because if this exchange of nutrients is impacting the growth of, Prochlorococcus and Synechococcus,
Right.
then it could potentially be influencing oxygen production on a much larger scale.
Wow.
We might even be looking at a connection between these microscopic interactions and global processes like carbon sequestration.
Whoa, that really puts things into perspective. It's like a chain reaction, from these tiny bacteria all the way up to the global ecosystem. But, I have to ask, how do these fragile nanotubes even form and hold up in, such a turbulent environment like the ocean?
Right. Yeah, that's one of the big mysteries that researchers are really trying to unravel.
Yeah.
It does seem kind of counterintuitive, right?
Right.
That these delicate structures could survive in the ocean with, all the motion and the forces.
Right, all the chaos.
Exactly. So they're really looking into, what are the specific conditions that might, trigger or inhibit nanotube formation?
So it's a puzzle,
Yeah.
but one that could lead to some, pretty big breakthroughs in our understanding of, these bacteria and their role in the ocean. It makes you wonder what other surprises are out there,
Oh, absolutely.
just waiting to be discovered.
This research has really highlighted how much we don't know about, the interconnectedness of life,
Mm.
especially at the microbial level. And it's really kind of changing the way that we think about bacteria.
Yeah.
We've traditionally viewed them as these, simple, single-celled organisms. But when you see this level of coordination and, communication,
Right.
it's almost like we're seeing a form of multicellularity in action.
It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is.
It challenges our whole definition of what it means to be a multicellular organism.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, could this kind of networked cooperation, could that be like a stepping stone in the evolution of more complex life forms?
It's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And it's definitely getting scientists to kind of rethink those boundaries between single-celled and multicellular life. One of the researchers who was involved in this study, Jose Manuel Garcia Fernandez, he actually described it as like a paradigm shift. He said, and I quote, "At the beginning of this century, when you were speaking about phytoplankton in the ocean, you were thinking about independent cells that are isolated. But now, and not only from these results, but also from results from other people, I think we have to consider that these guys are not working alone."
That's a powerful statement.
It is.
It really highlights how this is changing our fundamental understanding of how life operates. Even at, these smallest scales, it's like we're seeing the building blocks of complexity
Right.
right in front of us.
Exactly. And, the implications go beyond just understanding these specific bacteria.
Right.
This is raising questions about, how widespread are these networks? Are they in other microbial communities? Are Prochlorococcus and Synechococcus unique, or is this kind of interaction more common than we realize?
It's exciting to think about the possibilities. This kind of cooperation is happening on a larger scale. What does that mean for our understanding of the ocean as like a living system, right?
Yeah.
What other secrets are hidden in these, vast microbial networks?
Well, there's so much more to uncover.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we need to, really look into what kinds of molecules are being exchanged.
Right.
Right now, we know nutrients are being shared,
Sure.
but identifying the specifics, will give us a much clearer picture of how these networks function and, what their impact is on the whole ocean ecosystem.
So it's like we're trying to decipher the language
Yeah.
of this microscopic world.
Exactly.
And it could have huge implications, right? I mean, we're talking about organisms that are vital for the global carbon cycle.
Right.
Knowing what they're sharing could reveal how these networks influence, things like carbon sequestration in the ocean.
Absolutely, you're right. The potential consequences are enormous. And that brings us to another really key area of research,
Okay.
which is, understanding the environmental triggers. For nanotube formation, what specific conditions in the ocean are, promoting or inhibiting their development?
Right. Answering that question could really help us understand how these networks might respond to, changes in the environment.
Oh, that's a critical point.
Yeah.
Especially, with climate change and things like that. So it seems like there are, many paths for future research to explore. What are some of the most promising directions, in your opinion?
Well, one area that I think is really exciting is, exploring the evolutionary implications of these networks.
Oh, okay.
Like, could this type of cooperation actually be a driving force in bacterial evolution? It's a big question. One that could really reshape how we think about how complexity arises in biological systems.
So these tiny bacteria are giving us like a window into the very beginnings of, cooperation and interdependence in nature.
Exactly. And, on a more practical level, understanding how these nanotubes actually function could lead to some really cool applications in biotechnology.
Oh, how so?
Imagine being able to engineer microbial communities to perform specific tasks.
Like breaking down pollutants or producing biofuels by manipulating their nanotube connections.
So we could harness the power of these networks to solve some of our, bigger problems.
Exactly. And it's really incredible to think that something so small could have such a huge impact on, addressing some of the biggest challenges that we're facing on the planet.
It really highlights the power of basic research, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the importance of just, being curious and exploring.
Absolutely. We never really know where these, scientific journeys will lead, but often the most groundbreaking discoveries, they come from asking, seemingly simple questions
Yeah.
and then just following the trail wherever it goes.
That's a great point. It's a reminder that we should never underestimate the power of just observing things and, staying open to new possibilities, even the microscopic world.
You got it. And this discovery, I mean, it's a perfect example of that. The far-reaching implications, it shifted how we understand bacterial life. It's made us reconsider, the very nature of multicellularity. And it sparked so many new questions.
Right.
That are going to fuel, even more research and probably lead to some even more amazing discoveries.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of what these, tiny bacteria can teach us.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who are, eager to kind of dive deeper into this topic, what are some resources or, areas of research they should explore?
Well, I definitely recommend checking out the work of researchers like Jose Manuel Garcia Fernandez and his team at the University of Cordoba.
Okay.
They're really at the forefront of this, whole area. And their publications are, a great place to start. Also, keep an eye out for, new research on bacterial nanotubes and other microbial communities.
Okay.
Because that's where, I think some of the most exciting discoveries are going to be happening.
It's like whole new frontier research.
It is.
And for those who are, maybe new to the world of Prochlorococcus, I think it's worth, just exploring the incredible diversity and abundance of these organisms in our oceans.
Yeah.
I mean, they're responsible for, a significant portion of the oxygen we breathe.
Yeah.
And their role in the global ecosystem is just remarkable.
You're absolutely right. It's a good reminder that, even the smallest creatures can have a profound impact on our planet. So the next time you take a breath of fresh air, think about Prochlorococcus.
Yeah.
And its intricate network of connections. It really is a testament to the interconnectedness of, all life on Earth.
That's a beautiful thought to end on.
It is.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into the world of Prochlorococcus and bacterial nanotubes. And, I really hope our listeners are feeling as inspired as I am to, keep exploring the wonders of the natural world.
Me too.
Until next time. Keep those minds curious and those dives deep.